Hi everyone. We're really excited to have Shobhita here with us today. Shobhita is co-founder and COO at Veera Health. Veera focuses on premium supplements and programs for women's health conditions like PCOS. They've been featured in lists like Forbes 30 Under 30 in premium US medical publications, TechCrunch, Business Insider, amongst others. Today, we're going to be talking about female leadership in the tech ecosystem in India, especially amongst VC-funded startups like Veera Health, and both Shobhita and my experience being young female founders in India.
I think for me and Shash, who's my co-founder, we've been talking about Veera in different forms for a very long time. So even when I was in the US at United Healthcare as a consultant, I was working there for about 2.5 years. We used to talk about a lot of stories we would hear about Indian women facing a lot of stigma and a lot of judgment in the Indian healthcare system. So for me, I have PCOS. I was diagnosed when I was 21 years old. And my first experience with the gynecologist, she told me that, she just told me lose a bunch of weight without even telling me clearly how I should go about doing that, what is the kind of diet I should be following. If I was, having high stress levels, which obviously exacerbates the PCOS, how do I manage that? Add to that, she said, why don't you get married quickly and have kids? Because PCOS is the leading cause of infertility for women. So it was just a very harrowing and very isolating experience. So just these kind of experiences kind of shaped the first origins of Veera. And then after that, we basically started, I would say, kind of like a Practo for Women portal where we put together, non-judgmental and empathetic doctors who were following some of the latest guidelines.
Got it.
So I guess I'm also curious to learn, Khushi, when you also made the transition from Bain to becoming a startup founder yourself, what were some of the initial challenges, struggles that you came across?
So I really focused on the fact that my client is coming to me with a problem, right? And I really want to solve it for them. So how do I appear more like a problem solver and less like a salesperson? And those are the skills that Bain really drilled into me when I was there. So I think that has actually been similar because I've just tried to focus on how does my incentives drive value for the sales team, for my clients, and maybe in some places it doesn't. And can I just be authentic about that, right? The differences are also a lot, of course. I think the biggest one was, when we were creating these strategies, I remember feeling so much pride and confidence around the strategies. We would come up with, okay, these are the 5 main areas that you need to implement. And I think, maybe it was also because I was early in my career, but I used to feel a fair degree of confidence that, those are the right strategies and that's how the implementation will turn out. And I think as a founder, I realized if I have 10 seemingly really good and sensible ideas, maybe one will work out.
Got it.
And I just have to keep taking shots towards the goal. Tell me more about what it's been like motivating your team, motivating people from different backgrounds at different levels.
So educating the sales team and telling them, listen, you're not just selling a non-essential item I don't know, clothes or jewelry or something like that. You are literally educating the market and getting them to prioritize their healthcare, and you're changing somebody's life at the core, right? So, we talk about a lot of the customer testimonials that we have, when we're doing the training for our sales team, that, these are women who have been struggling with infertility or irregular periods for the longest time. And after they enrolled in our program for 6 months, 7 months, they've successfully conceived, and now they don't have to go through expensive procedures like IVF or other kind of artificial procedures. So I think just building that you're not just selling a non-essential service, you're essentially transforming somebody's life for the better. And even 5 years, 10 years down the line, which has happened to us as well, a lot of the customers who are still with us, they'll remember who initially sold them the program and are very, very grateful to them.
Yeah, for sure. So Shobhita, I know that you founded Veera with Shashwata. Tell me more about what that journey has been like, doing it with your older sister.
Yeah, we get this question a lot. Honestly, it's been amazing. It's honestly been, I don't think we would have come even this far if we hadn't been like co-founders. I think part of it is because we're both really close as sisters as well. But the other thing is also we have complementary skill sets. So she's very kind of big picture, strategy oriented, whereas I'm more on the, you know, meticulous, detail oriented execution type of things. And we tend to we tend to kind of like exchange those roles also, but those are kind of like, I would say, our core strengths. Along with that, you know, her background has been in, you know, finance and in consulting. So she actually has a lot of deep understanding of like marketing strategies for some of the biggest names like Fortune 100 companies while she was at consulting, whereas I bring the healthcare and technical expertise because I worked with pharma, medical device, and even life sciences companies. Right?
And the working styles with mom and me, mom has been in the loyalty space for the last almost 30 years, and she's seen a lot of this, right? She's seen great employees joining, great employees leaving. She's seen big customers signing up, big customers churning. So I think for her, like, she's a lot more calm and, you know, like, she has that confidence. I'm here to shake things up. Like, I'm here to create a fast growing, you know, disruptive SaaS business. So but I think that it's really nice to have mom on board because I'm a first time founder. She knows me better than anyone else. So she's also able to like identify just more deeper things that hold me back. I remember mom told me a year ago, just reflecting back on what I had told her about some of my customer conversations, that Khushi, I think that you're scared, you know, you have fear. And I said, Mom, what are you talking about? And that was my immediate reaction. And my reaction 2 days later was, yeah, Mom, it's really scary. I can't do anything about it. And then after I had a while to reflect back, like, you know, spend a few months thinking about it, I said, yeah, like, she's totally right. Like, I was, or I am scared about competitors. I'm scared about big customers maybe leaving us. But I think that just her pointing that out and giving me the space to reflect on it, to think that, yeah, I mean, being an entrepreneur is scary. There are things that can happen that can significantly impact the business, and it can happen today, it can happen tomorrow. You know, I'm not working in a huge company like Bain anymore, which is a well-oiled machine. Shobhita, I saw that, you know, recently there was a TechCrunch article that you commented on, which said that female-run startups have only gotten around 1.9% of VC-funded money. Tell me more about that. What do you think about that? What do you think we can do about something like that?
Yeah, I think the problem is that things haven't changed much, to be honest, in terms of funding that female founders get. One way to really kind of fix the problem is to have more female investors in kind of bigger VC funds, right? If you look at even in a lot of the biggest Indian VC firms, there's not a lot of female representation, and I would say that just kind of limits the diversity of ideas that are also being funded and becomes kind of like a self-perpetuating cycle. So I think we really need to see more investors in like in an institutional capacity, as well as angels who are coming in and high net worth individuals who are women, right? Funding startups. So I think that is something that we really need to see more movement in, and to see more diversity of ideas also in terms of what women are bringing to the table, right? Like, I think there's also like a traditional sense of, okay, most female founders will only focus on products that are oriented towards women. But I mean, there are people like you who are, you know, working in SaaS companies, and I'm sure it's even more skewed, I think, the gender ratio there. So yeah, I think that would be one of the main ways to kind of fix that underrepresentation of funding.
Yeah, definitely. I think you make some great points, and I agree. I think the change has to come from both the top and like top down and bottom up. I think top down, if we think of the funnel, there's LPs or limited partners that fund VCs. Then there's VCs that fund both early stage startups and growth stage startups. Those startups are run by founders, and then those founders hire like just like freshers or new employees as well as experienced employees, right?
Right.
So I think top down, having like better representation amongst LPs would help then drive better representation amongst VCs. Having more women at the table making those decisions would help empower a lot of the female entrepreneurs to raise that funding and to, you know, be able to like build out those companies. When I talk about bottoms up, being a founder myself, I feel like a lot of reason like I am able to be a founder is because I worked in a senior position at a scale up, right? Like I worked at Drip, I was chief of staff, I got exposure to a lot of the challenges as well as a lot of the opportunities that being in a fast growing company gives. So I think as a founder, if I'm able to hire and nurture female talent and give them like help put them in positions of responsibility, that helps build a pipeline for the future where some of that talent might start companies of their own. So Shobhita, I wanted to ask you, there was a recent Morning Contacts article about Leap.club, and we were, you know, debating about this just last week. So just a quick summary of the article. It spoke about Leap.club, which is a community for women. And it spoke about how Leap.club started out to almost be like a female LinkedIn, very catered towards women, and now is transitioning to have a much larger offline presence, right? They've launched their offline club in Bandra, in Mumbai, and they're spending a lot of effort building offline communities in India as well. So what did you think? What did you think of the article?
Yeah, no, first of all, I think the reality is that in 2021 and I think 2020, 2021, there was a funding boom, right? Like a lot of startups are getting some really crazy amounts of funding, and there's a lot of positivity and optimism in the environment. Now, because, you know, we are in the midst of a funding winter, everybody has to kind of survive in this new reality, harsher reality in the startup ecosystem. And everyone's trying to, you know, people will pivot and they will try, you know, different iterations of their strategies. So I personally thought that the article was a little bit, you know, singling out female founders as well as startups that are oriented towards, you know, female customers. And I just find it a little bit harmful to put out an article like that, like a clickbaity article like that, where, you know, anyway you have a group which is underrepresented, right, like female founders, and then you have, especially in India, which is, you know, the gender ratio is pretty skewed.
So do you think that, generally speaking, blogs or like news articles or like PR companies like have a responsibility towards, you know, having a certain tone towards underrepresented groups like women or like LGBTQ minorities in the way in which they report about them?
Absolutely, because, you know, you'll have, I mean, again, we talked about this, like VC firms are male dominated, right? Like, I mean, some of the biggest VC firms in India are, like, you look at the senior leadership and it's all men. And now you have an article going out which literally says that, you know, this company, which is run by very qualified people, still can't make it because, you know, female customers are not a lucrative enough opportunity, and a female run business may not be the best option. You know, there's so many biases. I mean, these are very well documented social biases that investors have.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shobhita. This has been great. It's also been really fun, like, catching up with you on this topic. Really appreciate you making the time to come out here and talk about, like, all of the experiences and all of the cool stories that you have.
Thanks for having me. I mean, this just felt like us catching up over like a cup of coffee. So it's been really nice.
Awesome.